mentioned resources and time, and I know you both agree that sometimes, though, those challenges lead to the best leaps of inspiration, don't they?
Well, and technologically, I mean, we have an amazing visual effects crew led by Gary Hutzel that just got nominated for an Emmy. And as they remain at the forefront of, cutting-edge technology and what you can do with CG and what you can do with green screen sets, it's really freed us up a lot too. And in fact, the network's been very encouraging about embracing that even more. And I think as the audience gets further and deeper into Caprica, they're going to start seeing a much sort of wilder and more varied visual palette than what they saw in the initial going. And part of that is what Ron was talking about. You start finding the show as you go. But to be able to find it not just from a writing standpoint, but also from a production and post-production standpoint, has really been free because the show is almost unrecognizable from where it began, just in terms of how epic and broad the canvas has become.
Absolutely. Hey, how are you?
Great, thanks. With both Galactica and Caprica, we've fallen in love with humans that we find become Cylons, avatars, robots. Will you be grappling with the question more overtly, what makes us human?
I think that's the fundamental question of both shows. What is it to be human? What does it mean? How do we define it? How would you know if a machine had a soul? At what point does it become a person? And how would you treat it? And how does it threaten you to make that acknowledgement? I think that was people in the Galactica universe. One of the biggest obstacles that they faced was their unwillingness, almost to a man, to refuse to say that the Cylons were people. And the audience, of course, is watching them week after week, and they're played by people, and the audience identifies with them, but we also kept trying in Galactica to remind you that they were machines, they had been created, and to raise, it's a very existential question that really can't be answered. And I think in Caprica, you're watching the beginning of that conversation as the Zoe avatar takes shape and starts to learn and grow and considers herself a person, and Daniel wants to believe in her as a person, and it's kind of where he made that leap. But what does that mean? And what are the moral and ethical ramifications of making that decision? And I think it's a question that runs throughout the series.
Yeah. Who would you say is more responsible for the Cylon race, Zoe or Dr. Greystone?
Well, Dr. Greystone is really the veritable Frankenstein, so as the one who's behind this effort to resurrect his daughter out of his own pain, comes this invention. So, I would say it's Daniel.
It's hard to say, but I would almost argue that it's Zoe, because without Zoe, the original Zoe, the human Zoe, so you weren't in that writer's room, but the original Zoe,
This is the egalitarian part.
the human Zoe is the one that came up with the idea of creating another life. She's the one that came up with the whole notion of creating another person and giving a digital repository for a soul. So in a way, that's sort of the Promethean moment of trying to steal fire from the gods. But you can argue it either way, and I'm sure we will.
That's a great question, thanks. Next.
My question is for Ron and David. A while back when there were rumors sort of doubting the future of Caprica as a series, I also read that they were maybe planning on optioning other series. I was wondering if you might have any hints or rumors about what that would be and what that would mean for Caprica as a...
You mean other spin-off series? I wouldn't know anything about that, sir.
Next. Start looking much. I think that would be it.
Hi, this question is for Alessandra. For the episode where your father was putting you on fire, trying to emote emotion, how tough as an actor was that to play?
It was hard to have someone abuse you like that, especially being your father. It was hard. It was actually much easier than I thought it would be, in the sense where you actually have a ring of fire around you. You're scared out of your mind. So, it wasn't a joke at that point. I knew that was serious. It was not CGI. There was actual flames right here. So that really did help a lot. And Eric's intensity of being an actor, it really affects you. His work affects everyone around him.
I was just wondering if, when you're filming, in the scenes where you're going back and forth between the Zoe robot and the actress, if you have any problems with the sight lines, if you ever thought of just putting her in a box.
Wait, say that again? I'm not quite understanding.
Well, when you're going back and forth between the actress and the robot in a scene? Sometimes you'll be looking at your face, and sometimes you'll be looking at the robot. If they ever thought about just raising you up so that the sight lines were the same?
We did actually have this conversation,
Yeah.
which is a long technical conversation about, we said eye line, you know, that's literally where the actor's eyes is looking. And we grappled for a while about, okay, when they're talking to, when the audience sees Zoe, should his eyes still be looking up here where the robot was technically, or should we put her on a box and have Zoe, Alessandra up here so that they could look at each other? But it seemed stupid. It seemed stupid because then the audience is going to go, but she's not that tall, and what are they
I
doing?
always took it that it was from Zoe's perspective.
It's from her
that's how I
perspective.
yeah.
We just take the leap with the audience. It's like, okay, the audience is seeing her point of view whenever you see her, and in her eyes, he's looking at her, and let's just keep her normal sight and just height and just go with it.
Hindsight.
And no one will notice, but clearly we were wrong.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. This is for James. I'm a big Smallville fan, so I'm curious. How much of Brainiac do you draw, or how much of Barnabas do you draw from Brainiac for that role?
Man, I think Barnabas is just letting it all hang out there, man. I mean, he does manipulate people. I guess, okay, but both characters are pretty manipulative. But Brainiac just is like all manipulation. He just pretends that he cares about you, and he really doesn't care about you at all. But I think that Barnabas likes to speak his truth. He wants to be truthful, and he only manipulates, I think, when he feels like he needs to. Otherwise, he's just bragging. I'm right.
We have time for one or two more questions.
Two.
Now it's two.
This question is for Alessandra. I was wondering, as a personal aspect, what do you relate to most to your character, Zoe Grace?
Both of my parents were in the computer technology company. My dad invented a chip for IBM. So it's very similar. And that's kind of what I'm basing it around. That I grew up in this environment where I was always great at math. I was always great at science, but that wasn't my passion. My passion was acting and the arts. And Zoe's passion is something else. Hers is the one true God. So that's what I'm taking that from.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. I was wondering if we're going to be seeing more of Tamara in the virtual world, and if maybe that was a little bit influenced by virtuality, the focus on that.
You'll definitely be seeing more of Tamara and the V-World. Was it influenced by virtuality? Probably in some ways, in that I was dealing with two projects. Virtuality was a pilot I did for Fox that didn't get picked up. But, and they both sort of dealt with virtual realities and having people exist in a virtual world and how it would affect them back and forth. So it was certainly something that was in my mind in both projects, but I don't know if there was a direct, this influenced that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am told it is time to come back to Earth. Let's hear it